on Brookland News Live, the busy week on Capitol Hill as confirmation hearings continue and the first DOGE hearing occurs. Plus, Trump signs new reciprocal tariffs into effect. The ceasefire deal continues for Israel and Hamas, but Trump is now weighing in on what's next. And the Russia-Ukrainian war could be coming to an end soon, the call Donald Trump had with leaders of both countries. Also, in your local minute, a couple who met right here in Brookland, now engaged, the story behind it all. The Arkansas legislator continues filing bills. BN is monitoring it all. RFK Jr. sworn in as Health and Human Services Secretary, all as JCPenney's plans to close a number of stores. Which ones and why? Bird flu causes egg prices to soar. What that's all about as inflation rises in the latest report. Mark Fogel, the teacher said to have been wrongly detained in Russia, now freed. Brookland News Live starts now.
Brookland News Live begins right now. Here's Jackson Mitchell.
And hello, everyone. Good Sunday to all of you. Apologies, a little preview there. What's coming up as we talk about the busy week on Capitol Hill. But good Sunday to all of you. I'm Jackson Mitchell, joining you live from Brookland News headquarters here in Brookland, Arkansas. A busy news week as I recap it all, but we are going to begin right now with some breaking news. A snowstorm expected to impact Arkansas, northeast Arkansas, early into the week. We are going to talk about that right now as we go first, of course, and as always, to your forecast. I looked at your 70 forecast Tuesday, that day when we could see some late night snow showers leading to what we are calling this snowstorm, and we're continuing to watch it as it's early in the forecast model, so we'll continue monitoring that. We'll go through the week, though. On Monday, 35, low of 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Pretty sunny, but the sun's not going to do enough to heat up the air too much. By Tuesday, high of 28, low of 14. This kind of what we would like to call a cold blast is going to begin to come in. High of 28, low of 14 by Wednesday. High of 19, low of 7. Could even see some below zero temperatures coming in by Wednesday and Thursday as we see this really cold air really just pounce on a large part of northern Arkansas. By Thursday, high of 20, low of 10. Friday, high of 26, low of 17. It continues to be cloudy for the rest of the week. Starts heating back up by Saturday, high of 34, low of 23. And by Sunday, high of 46, low of 35. So that's going to be something to monitor as we go forward because it has been one rainy week and now it could be turning into a snowy week. So that's going to be something to watch. Want to turn now to some political news though because we are keeping our eye on this busy week at Capitol Hill that occurred last week We are monitoring that and we are going to talk all about it here. So President Donald Trump's nominees continue to be confirmed and closure out of the committees and then on to the whole Senate floor. And this week was Kash Patel's week. He was voted out of committee, and we have highlights of all of it. So here's Kash Patel from, I believe, about 2 weeks ago, January 31st, I want to say. Roll it.
So do you think that America is safer because these 1,600 people have been given an opportunity to come out of serving their sentences and live in our communities again?
Senator, I have not looked at all 1,600 individual cases. I have always advocated for imprisoning those that cause harm to our law enforcement and civilian communities.
Did you post on your personal social media account in May of 2024, January 6th, never an insurrection, cowards in uniforms exposed? They broke the chain of command.
I believe you're referencing a post that was shown in part earlier. I don't have it in front of me.
You posted it, and it was on your account, and we will again put that out there once more.
Any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair, and I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Donald Trump has never acknowledged that he lost in 2020. And he invited people to come to the Capitol on January 6th to stop the steal. And after that happened, police officers died. People were injured. Can you say the words, Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
So that last answer there, a similar one that we have seen among a number of Trump's nominees, because Democrats Are we back? Okay, want to apologize for that audio issue we just had there. We are back now. My apologies, just talking to nobody here. But okay, what I was saying is what Patel said in that last comment, which was about the 2020 election. What he essentially said was that Joe Biden was president, not saying that he won the election, something that Trump's nominees have been asked in most of these hearings. So we are going to keep our eyes peeled on the Patel way of things. We are also going to move on now, though, to the DOGE hearing. That is the Department of Government Efficiency. They held a hearing over the, quote, waste of federal dollars as it became quite heated, as Democrats used most of their time to attack the Department of Government Efficiency.
In the last Congress, Chairwoman Green literally showed a dick pic in our oversight congressional hearing, so I thought I'd bring one as well. Now, this, of course, we know is President Elon Musk. He has billions of dollars in conflicts of interest, and we know that he is leading a power grab, also abided by and encouraged by Donald Trump and, of course, the Chairwoman, Congresswoman Green.
You know what Elon Musk doesn't seem to be looking into? His own contracts. Do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans, is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day.
People said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter, who for sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying and he was using his propaganda machine to do it.
We're not trying to take down Elon Musk as a businessman. This dude is literally breaking the law inside of the federal government. And for a party that is supposed to be the party.
Ooh, like I said, some intense moments there on Capitol Hill. That's not the only thing. Those are not the only things, I should say. The Capitol Hill was the face of this week. Also the face of Linda McMahon's confirmation hearing after we had been waiting so long for the ethics report to come back from the FBI. Here's highlights of Linda McMahon's hearing. Just yet one more heated moment to watch here on Capitol Hill.
I want to talk to you about an executive order that the Trump administration issued that commands agencies, including the Department of Education, to eliminate grants to organizations and entities that support DEI. How does a school know whether it's running a DEI program or not?
DEI, I think, has been it's a program that's tough. It was put in place ostensibly for more diversity, for equity and inclusion, and I think what we're seeing is that it's having an opposite effect. We are getting back to more segregating of our schools instead of having more inclusion in our schools. When there are DEI programs that say that Black students need separate graduation ceremonies or Hispanics need separate ceremonies, we are not achieving what we wanted to achieve with inclusion.
President Trump is reportedly drafting an executive order requiring the Secretary of Education to develop a plan for downsizing the Department of Education and working with Congress to eliminate entirely. Yes or no, do you agree that since the department was created by Congress, it would need an act of Congress to actually close the Department of Education?
And certainly President Trump understands that we'll be working with Congress. We'd like to do this right. We'd like to make sure that we are presenting a plan that I think our senators could get on board with and our Congress could get on board with. That
I want to ask you about local control here real quickly. This is very clear. And again, it was something that we wanted to promote as Republicans with the focus on local control. So how do you balance what you have shared here before the committee with the requirements of the law that says the federal government is not the school board here, if you will, for our nation's schools?
Thank you, Senator. And I believe, I don't remember which of the senators this morning, well, actually, I think it was Senator Scott, who said the Department of Education does not actually educate any child. It is to be handled at the local level. And I understand under ESSA there were lots of regulations put in place to return, and the goal was to return education to the states, which is clearly the president's role. But Senator, I must say, we have failed in our mission. We are not delivering the kind.
Okay, Democrats likely to put up a fight while it is. We'll still see if she is confirmed, or she has yet, I believe, if I'm correct on my knowledge here, yet to be voted out of the committee, which is essentially when they stop the argument inside the committee and they say, okay, put her in front of the entire Senate floor. So we'll have to see how that goes. And if you joined me last week, we talked about the Education Department, Donald Trump addressing those questions last week, saying he wants McMohan to be over a department that she destroys or gets rid of. I did have the segment earlier, but it's really lengthy, and I decided ultimately not to play it for you guys. So in that segment, we talked about a number of different things, and to get the complete details, the complete story as to what's going on with the Education Department, you can go right there. That's the story right there on your screen, brooklandnews.com. Look it up if you can't find it directly on the first page. As I was just editing it last night, and we could have redid the website to make it look a little more newsy and a little easier to access. I just felt like the last kind of theme we had going on our website was not the best looking, so we redid that. So you can go to brooklandnews.com now and find this story by searching it, and I believe it's one of the top ones up there because I've not written in a long period of time. So Trump administration could attempt to dismantle the Department of Education Sources Report. So, of course, you can find that at brooklandnews.com. We got a lot coming up, though, in just a few moments. Coming up here on Brookland News Live. Trump signs reciprocal tariffs, who they were for, what Trump said as he addressed the Israel-Hamas ceasefire, and the conditions of the hostages released. That's all when Brookland News Live returns right back here in just a moment. to Brookland News Live. Sorry, saw the other graphic up. We're going to continue to monitor what's coming up, of course. Stick with Brookland News Live. We have all the latest headlines for y'all. So, welcome back on this Sunday. Donald Trump signed new reciprocal tariffs into effect this week. Those tariffs were for, maybe. There we go. Okay, Trump signed new reciprocal tariffs into effect this week. Those tariffs for India, Brazil, and Europe. The president saying that for years they have implemented tariffs on the U.S. and we've essentially just paid it. So, roll it. Maybe. Yep, roll it.
They charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them. The EU's been very nasty.
Okay, that was Donald Trump inside the Oval Office speaking on those reciprocal tariffs. And what's kind of ironic here is that the president saying that what's kind of ironic here is that Donald Trump actually met with the India Prime Minister this week. So that's going to be something ironic there. And that was I believe the same day. Maybe, I know it was the same week. I can't confirm that, but same day that he met with him. So that's very interesting and something we will continue to follow there and see what kind of the implications of all of this are. As we know, tariffs on these other countries that really that have manufacturers that do a lot for the United States has really could possibly have an impact on the consumers here in the U.S. So that's going to be something to watch out for. We want to talk also about this ceasefire deal. Donald Trump reacting to it earlier this week, weighing in on what he thinks about this Israel-Hamas ceasefire as it remains in effect. And yesterday, led to the 6th release of hostages, including yet another American and hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And this week led to Trump talking about how he felt about the hostages and the conditions of the hostages which were released. We talked a little bit about that last week, but he's weighing in more on it. Here it is.
As far as I'm concerned, if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday, and if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, I would say all hell is going to break out. And I don't think they're going to do it. I think a lot of them are dead. I think a lot of the hostages are dead. I think it's a great human tragedy what's happened, how people can be that mean to do. I mean, the one guy was laughing when a hostage, he thought his family was alive, found out the family was dead, and his captor, so to speak, started laughing because he thought it was so funny. You know, this is a different group of people. No, I would say Saturday at 12, we want them all back. I'm speaking for myself. Israel can override it. But from myself, Saturday at 12 o'clock, and if they're not.
Well, 12 o'clock has since passed, of course, and we're still waiting to see maybe what happens there. I will say Trump did react on Truth Social to all of this. Maybe we haven't, maybe we don't. I'm sorry. A lot of the graphics we're going to show really look the same. Here is Trump reacting to those hostages. Apologies for hitting my mic there. Trump saying that, quote, Hamas has just released 3 hostages from Gaza, including an American citizen. They seem to be in good shape. This differs from their statement last week that they would not release any hostages. Israel will now have to decide what they will do about the 12 o'clock today deadline imposed on the release of all hostages. The United States will back the decision they make, unquote. Okay, and kind of the big picture here of what President Trump was saying there was that he's essentially going, while he did say that, he's going to leave it to Israel ultimately on kind of what happens here going forward. So that is going to be something to watch. We do want to turn now, though, to the We do want to turn now. So used to saying that because this one thing that's not been in the headlines is the Russia and Ukrainian war. We're talking about that now because talks have began on ending this war. Another overseas story Brookland News is following here. The Ukraine-Russia war, which is sparking headlines as Donald Trump had a phone call this week with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, and Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine. Donald Trump saying some talks could be coming to possible into the war, what I would consider the elongated war that's been going on now for so long. Here is Donald Trump on it all.
In much better way.
Did you had that major call yesterday with President Putin of Russia. President Zelensky responded today basically saying any agreements they won't accept unless they're made with Ukraine. Will Ukraine have a seat at that table for those negotiations?
Of course they would. I mean, they're part of it. We would have Ukraine, we would have Russia, and we'll have other people involved too. A lot of people, a lot of forks in the a lot of forks in this game. I'll tell you what, this is a very interesting situation, but the Ukraine war has to end. The young people are being killed at levels that nobody's seen since World War II, and it's a ridiculous war, and it has to end. We had a good talk with President Putin. I had a good talk with President Zelensky, very good talk. And somebody said, oh, I should have called Zelensky first. I don't think so. I mean, we have to find out whether or not Russia wants to make a deal. I know that Zelensky wants to make a deal because he told me that, but I now know that Russia wants to make a deal.
Did you ask Secretary Hegseth to walk back his comments yesterday saying Ukraine won't join NATO and won't go back to pre-2014 borders because those are bargaining chips you could use?
No, I didn't. Somebody told me to, but I thought his comments were good yesterday, and they're probably good today. They're a little bit softer, perhaps, but I thought his comments from yesterday. I thought his comments yesterday were pretty accurate. I don't see any way that a country in Russia's position could allow them, just in their position, could allow them to join NATO. I don't see that happening. And long before President Putin, Russia was very strong on the fact that I believe that's the reason the war started, because Biden went out and said that they could join NATO, and he shouldn't have said that. As soon as he said that, I said, you know what? You're going to have a war now, and I was right about that. This is a war that would have never happened if I were president.
You don't think it's President Biden's fault, not President Putin? I mean, he's the one.
I think Biden is incompetent, and I think when he said that they could join NATO, I thought that was a very stupid thing to say. I thought when he said, well, it depends if it's a minor incursion. In other words, it's okay if Russia does a minor incursion. I thought that was a very foolish thing to say.
Okay, sorry about that. That was Donald Trump earlier this week speaking on this entire thing. Also, he, in that same clip there, I believe, he said that he wanted to meet with both leaders in person, but talks that Trump could meet with Putin first has sparked a little bit of outrage from the U.S.'s Ukrainian counterparts. President of Ukraine, Zelensky, saying this week that he wishes Trump would meet with him before Russia. So we are going to keep following this. If an end to the war comes anytime soon, you know where you can find it all there at the socials and websites, scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Brookland News Live will return here in just 60 seconds. We've got a lot more to talk about. We are talking about your local minute. That story I was mentioning in the introduction about this couple who met right here, now engaged. We are talking all about it. That's all when we come back right here on Brookland News Live. We're back in just a moment. Time for your local minute. We got a lot to talk about. That is one thing for sure still. So your local minute's going to be pretty interesting. Okay, so this couple that met right here in Brookland, at the McDonald's, I believe is what he said in the video, is now in this Arkansas State University made video, talking about it all, and he proposed to his now fiance, Madison, in the middle of Centennial Bank Stadium filled. So it's a type of story that'll make you go, oh. Here it is.
Okay, now look straight ahead. Do not look to your right.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. I'm just gonna look down at my feet because I feel on the trip. I've never been over here.
All right.
Ever.
Do not look to your right still.
Okay.
All right, just go straight. So, we met at the McDonald's in Brookland, just working, and we just kind of developed our relationship by working initially, and a lot of common interests. Yeah, stop right there and take a picture. And just one thing leads into another, and that's where we're at now. We both go to school here. She's in her bachelor's program still. I'm in my graduate, and we're just growing together. Okay. Now you can look.
Aww. That's cute.
See, that's the first time we hung out.
Mhm.
Well, kind of. I guess you can say that. That was when I was going to Nashville.
Mhm.
Forget what you were doing. And then that's our first trip together.
You were coming by to see me before you went to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
So sweet.
Well, I do want to tell you something.
Mhm.
From the moment I met you, I knew you were something else. The things we've gone through already together, the things we go through now, and the things we go through in the future, nothing I can't do without you by my side. Because every time I look at photos of that right there, you know what I see right there? Happiness. Joy. That smile right there. I just have one final question for you. Will you do me the honor and become my wife? I'm not crying, it's wind. It's love.
I've never been even on the field or around the field ever. I love you.
Congratulations to Chris and Madison. Such an awesome story. Wishing them the best in the future. Wow. That was awesome. I'll tell you, I watched that video, and I was like, I instantly knew that had to be the local minute because, first of all, the surprise, crazy. So, again, congratulations to Chris and Madison. Such an awesome story. We're wishing them the best in the future. We are going to turn now to a much different story in politics again. So, the Arkansas State Legislature is continuing to file bills, including many controversial ones, some coming from State Senator Dan Sullivan, who doesn't represent Brookland, but Jonesboro, including one which would take Arkansas PBS and the Arkansas State Library Board and all of its assets and put it in the hands of the Department of Education. In a hearing earlier this week, Sullivan explained the bill, and PBS defended itself, saying that it wouldn't work, essentially, and saying that we believe things of that nature. So I do want to read you a piece of that bill because Sullivan has highlighted this throughout the entirety of kind of all this little bit of drama, you could say, and basically saying that the organizations, the network channel, the PBS, would continue to go on, though it would just be under new leadership. So what that says is, quote, the orders, rules, I should say directives, registration, licensing in 7 standards, or I should say in standards. There are going to be numbers there. I apologize. That is a line numbers. I literally just copied and pasted this. And standards of the Arkansas Educational Television Commission shall continue to be in effect until they are amended or repealed by the Department of Education, unquote. So, we will have to see where this goes in the future. It takes a vote in front of the entire Senate on Tuesday. It's unclear if it's likely to pass or not likely to pass. We've heard a little bit of kind of disagreements with it, but we'll see kind of what that does. So a lot still to come here on Brookland News Live, though. We are going to be talking about RFK Jr. now sworn in as Health and Human Services Director. There we go. That's the right graphic there. As Health and Human Services Secretary, and JCPenney's planning to close a number of stores. Brooklyn News Live will return here in just 2 minutes. We're back in a moment. All right, welcome back to Brooklyn News Live. Apologies, there's a little bit of a delay there, so if you just see me awkwardly smiling, I apologize about that. But welcome back to Brookland News Live on this Sunday. This week, the Senate confirmed RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to head the Department of Health and Human Services. This comes as we've already seen a few layoffs there at that department. So, layoffs already occurring at the departments, at the specific places that the HHS rules over, which is the Centers for Disease Control and National Health Institute. Those are the 2 places that we've already seen layoffs. So that's going to be something to watch there. Here is a video here of RFK Jr. being sworn in earlier this. Okay, apologies. I thought we did have it. We do not. It does not appear. Okay. My apologies. I thought we had video of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being sworn in. We don't. Apologies. Okay. This is kind of this new era that we're seeing in the RFK Jr. era, you could say. So we'll have to see what happens there. Turning now, though, to retail news. JCPenney's announced a number of closings of its stores this week. The retailer cited expiring lease agreements, market conditions, and other business considerations behind its decision to close the stores. JCPenney's releasing a statement to today.com, which reads, quote, "While we do not have plans to significantly reduce our store count, we expect a handful of JCPenney stores to close by mid year. That's what the company said in that statement to Today.com. Quote, the decision to close a store is never an easy one, but isolated closures do happen from time to time due to expiring lease agreements, market changes, or other factors. These closures are unrelated to the recent Catalyst Brands merger. So, the department chain has faced financial struggles in recent years, including a Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. In 2020, in January, JCPenney merged with the multi-brand retailer, if I could get it out there, Spark Group, to form a number of Catalyst brands, uniting 6 different retail names. So we'll be monitoring that. Those stores include those on your screen. It may be a little hard to read, but you have California stores closing, Colorado, Idaho, Kansas, Maryland, North Carolina, New Hampshire, West Virginia. All stores in those states are closing, so you can see them on your screen. They're listed in alphabetical order. You notice no A's, meaning Arkansas, Alabama, and Alaska, if they have stores in Alaska, won't be closing. So that is good news if you're good or bad news, depending on where you live and if you're a JCPenney shopper. So we are going to keep our eye on this, and of course, there is still a lot to come up on Brookland News Live. We are going to talk about the bird flu, which is now impacting egg prices, all as a new inflation report shows inflation is going back up once again, leaving I don't know. I'll nerd out in a second. Let me not nerd out in the coming up in the tease here. So we're going to be back here in just a moment as we talk about these egg prices. We're back in just a moment right here live on Brookland News. Live on Brookland News Live. Okay. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to Brookland News Live on this Sunday. So, egg prices were already soaring, and now they're rising even more. Take a look at this, and researchers say, and scientists, I should say also, are saying that it's all due to bird flu. Take a look at this. This is egg prices. Egg prices since 2024, rising 53%. By 2025, it's up 15%, and it's all said to be due to the bird flu, and those prices beat a previously met record at $4.82 as prices of eggs average at $4.95. Holy moly, that's some expensive eggs there. Okay, a quick segment, really quick. That was a quick segment there, really quickly. I also want to talk about the newest inflation report because it does relate to this. These egg prices rising all come as a new inflation report shows inflation rising. All as Donald Trump campaign promised. That's not come true just yet. We'll wait and see how it goes. Said that he was going to have inflation down by this point in time. Grocery prices still on the rise, though. So were eggs, but due to a different reason. Okay, not pulling politics into that. Okay, a lot more to come up because we're wrapping up the show when we're back here in just 60 seconds. Brooklyn News Live returns in a moment. Back to Brooklyn News Live on this Sunday. I'm Jackson Mitchell, live here in Brooklyn News headquarters. The show coming to an end here. The United States and Russia reached an agreement on a prisoner swap involving Mark Fogel, an American school teacher whom the Biden administration had deemed wrongfully detained by Russia. The White House stated that this diplomatic move could help advance negotiations aimed at ending the Ukraine and Russia war. Now, Fogel was an American history teacher from just outside of Pittsburgh, and he was traveling to Russia to work at a Moscow school in 2021, and according to the Associated Press here, he had been carrying medically prescribed marijuana. Now, you know, unlike America, it's unclear exactly what people were arrested for. It's really hard to get that information in other countries because they are stricter on those rules and have more, I would say, I don't know, I don't want to use the word dictatorship, but have more much more strict leadership than a constitution and things of that nature. So that's going to be something that is going to be why it's so hard to figure out kind of what occurred here. But nearly a year later, Fogel was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and according to the Interfax news agency, Fogel had taught at the Anglo-American school in Moscow and had worked at the U.S. Embassy. Court officials reported that Fogel had admitted guilt during his trial. Now, in December, the U.S. State Department announced that Fogel had been wrongly detained, or I should say, designated him as wrongfully detained. There was a number of Americans that had been designated as wrongfully detained. And that led to this swap agreement between the two nations. So, welcome home, Mark. Take a look at that photo there on your screen as we welcome him home. That is a photo from. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it didn't cover my side. So yeah, sorry, that's a little funny. I did not realize it wasn't a full screen, but okay. Welcome home, Mark. That's him shaking Donald Trump's hand. You see Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, there in the background as well. So, welcome home. I've always kind of thought that, no matter, I guess, who you are, I guess if you go to another country, break the law, I don't know. I feel like there's always a question as to should you be released, should you be not? Because I'm speaking to Americans on both sides of the story, and I'm sorry to just talk about all this while we're talking about Mark Fogel. But I don't know. I've heard both sides of the story. So some people would say, hey, before you go to a whole other country, why don't you research their laws? But others are like, siding with what kind of the government thinks and saying that, hey, you should be brought home. I mean, it was just an accident. So, and that you didn't realize they had stricter laws back in another country. So, I don't know. I feel like I've seen both sides of the story, and I'm interested in both sides of the story too, because most of the time the government always sides with this American that's been wrongly detained, because I don't know, sometimes countries use these Americans that they arrest for kind of reasons that would be not too much here in the U.S., but to kind of, I wouldn't say hold them hostage, but use them in a way that hostages are used for, as just more holding more power over another place. But, sorry about that. I had to go on a quick ramble there. But that is going to do it for me on this Sunday. I am Jackson Mitchell, wishing you all a great